Oh, the Christmas fever is on, and then when you hear the country version of Silent Night, you know that we're in the period. So we're talking about transport next because a lot of people are traveling. Plenty of people are on the road. Yesterday, people started rushing out of Accra to various destinations. This morning, I realized traffic was very heavy, rather heavy early. So what are the challenges of travelers? That's what we're addressing next here on the AM show. So it's time for my banner. And if you're setting out to travel somewhere, I'm sure you find this conversation very useful. My guest, I'm happy to say, is the Deputy Minister of Transport, Madam Joyce Bawa Mokhtari. Can I say good morning to you? And let's start with how you're celebrating Christmas.
Well, good morning to all your great audience and, of course, the people of Ghana. Christmas is actually a very beautiful and solemn time. I believe that most often than not, we look at the celebratory aspects of it or the economic aspects of it. But let's also remember that this is an all-important day, a day on which Christ actually sacrificed his life for us as Christians. So there's also that religious and faith-oriented aspect to it as well. So even as we go on about all the celebratory aspects of it, let's always remember the spiritual connotations of this all-important, age-old celebration. So yes, on my behalf, I'd like to wish His Excellency the President a very Merry Christmas, Ghanaians a Merry Christmas, my family, friends, and everybody else. And of course, to you here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. But do you have a family tradition?
Well, a family tradition, I'll say, it's just like pretty much everybody else. I come from an extremely large family, so yes, Christmas is spent in one home or the other. Okay. And it's, of course, a time when we are all together. So I actually find it very difficult to leave home and to celebrate Christmas anyway other than here. It's always a very difficult decision. But of course, it's a lovely time when we all get together, eat and drink, and of course, reminiscence over the past when we were a lot younger before we all had families. And of course, it's always great to have the kids all together. Because as I said, I have about in all 12 nieces and nephews.
Ah, that's a lot.
It's quite a large family, yes. And of course, the husbands and the in-laws and everybody else. Christmas is always a beautiful time. And coming so close to a very busy year, even more so because you need to relax and catch up with everybody else. Yes.
So we also know that this is a time that other persons want to leave town and go to various places, and we've been having a conversation. My colleague Matilda Wemeka was out yesterday. We've also been out this morning, so let's just bring you a playback of the experience yesterday, and let's look at what people are talking about. We'll come back in here and continue the conversation.
Do Christmas and so I am a conformity ade by a nama my escort ye can be a police in the womb. I two a police for kind baby could be a Tiana ye save or ye nanti. Passengers now can say tab no paper into no. And ye say you bet to 4 o'clock no. As soon as you be a best packet in Abiano. Na passenger me and Sabi Mai. Won't mean to young men can't it ye woman number na ye fro what brehene or hen ebia meba na ya training a picking pa na fe nyina na ye sanso na ye kona ayefe
and sempia ya na eba no ebi wo ha bronya na eba besia anam se enipa dom ne bakuru akese mu na itutu kwan ne ntino obi okra abahwe na ne niam a odi itu kwan no no wayela no e wo station basa no so a ema ye adwuma no ema ye problem kakra ana problem no nso bi ne se eba sei na cars ne nyina asese wabetwa tekti na e wo so hwe ne number se oh car we be a one love car in a team and I socket car na meti do wuntimi kura no fasade no kura ye ahyensode on fan ye obi wo ho a o kasa ho a respect ne kura mpo nya adwuma ana hu se nipa na ote afidie nanim wa se kasa na wo ka kire no so anya botra wan hwe on so beka bia kire wo e ba sa na di abufu ayedai aba abufu so yemfa nkaka e ba sa be ma nipa no temper no be yedai e be ko high wo be hwe na fe wo di abufu tu car ko e bi ko won hwe nanim o wono wo kasa wa kire wo twa nani ahwe nachi be hu an se gra na ko fa accident aba.
Mostly the passengers, some of the students are many, so this thing, the difficult that we get is there are things. Maybe it won't go inside the car. We're trying to manage it, but we're trying to, it's Christmas season, and at least we have to mellow our speed, know how we talk to the passengers.
Okay. At first, when we are going, we used to face problem like there will be like fault, then we will delay. But this time around, they have changed their buses, so I can see that when we are going this time around, there is no problem. We go without anything happening on our way, so it's okay.
Maybe sometimes we don't travel on time to our destinations. The bus breaks down on the way, and so we are not able to get to where we want to go to at the right time. So
OA Travel and Tour is our best customer, but nowadays I think their vehicle they are giving to Drobo Sampa, I think it is too old, so we find it difficult to travel to Drobo. At times we have complained to them, but we don't have. I mean, you can say we haven't got feedback well.
Okay, so if you're a traveler, you want to communicate with us, just go to facebook.com/Joy News on TV. Forward your questions to me and let me put them to the Deputy Minister of Transport, who's got all the answers and a lot more for you this morning. So you've been watching and you've been listening. I don't know if there's something you want to say or you just want us to move on.
Well, I believe I'd like to actually ask all our traveling public, especially, to exercise patience. I think that as we approach all the festivities of Christmas, of Easter, usually at these very peak travel periods, we do have a lot of inconveniences. Not to forget that despite the number of public transport buses put out on the streets, you would find that there's always a shortfall because there's so many more people traveling outside from one place to the next. So what I would like to appeal to everybody to do is actually to exercise restraint in the face of extreme congestion, pressure, and what have you. Each year, the Honorable Minister for Transport, Madam Jafar Chipo, actually starts a campaign on road safety in collaboration with the National Road Safety Commission and the Driver Vehicle and Licensing Authority. The purpose of this campaign is to ensure that we preserve lives, there's safety on our roads, and of course we avoid needless crashes. This year we've tried very hard, but the statistics are still not very good. There's been a slight improvement. Last year actually was much better than this year. This year I think officially we've actually had about 12,000 crashes that have been reported. But
12,000, that's not good at all.
Exactly, and each time you have 12,000 being reported, what you should ask is all the other ones that go unreported because they happen in between routes, between long distance routes where there's probably no official available or a police station readily available and what have you. And of course, you know the typical Ghanaian sentiment, which is that, oh, it's really not a bad situation, so you can go and work on your vehicle, and I do likewise. So we do have to work together, especially, I think, with the media, to stem this canker.
What can we do when people are complaining about vehicles breaking down in the middle of their travel, for instance?
The Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority is doing a yeoman's job. They've actually just passed new regulations, the LI 2180, which gives them even more powers to test standards, to test engine capacities, to test the strength and robustness of all our vehicles, both commercial, privately owned, and what have you.
But do we actually trust and believe that they will do that? Because there's still quite a good number of people who get their vehicles passed behind closed doors.
Well, they actually do a very good job. You see, it's a sort of it's a responsibility issue that we must actually trust ourselves to carry out this mandatory requirement. If you own a commercial vehicle, if you own a private vehicle, it is actually your duty as the owner, as the user, to avail yourself of this testing facility. What they have done is to decentralize all the testing facilities. They've actually set up these private vehicle testing facilities across the country. So availability and access is no longer a challenge. But the question we should be asking is, how many of us do it? Remember, presently we are even working on an e-system where you can get these testing licenses or permits automatically generated. But I'm telling you, we still have cases where they are forged and put on the vehicles. You have cases where they've expired and they're still being used. Even private people have those problems sometimes. You forget that you are due for a re-registration or a renewal and you carry on. Except when the insurance people send you a text message. So even the Driver Vehicle and Licensing Authority is actually trying to introduce a system where they remind you when it's time for you to get a new license, a new permit. And
because I was going to say that we need something like that. I mean,
yes,
people are really busy trying to make money, trying to do other things that they forget. And sometimes when the text message for the insurance comes in, you're like, oh, I love my insurance. Because they're always reminding you. If we can be more proactive and stop sitting down and waiting for people to come forward and say, I want to do a renewal. I mean, they can charge us for those services, and I'm sure people wouldn't mind.
Well, absolutely. I think that is important. And of course, another thing they're trying to do also is to improve upon the issuance of driver's licenses. We are actually introducing some examination centers so that gradually would feel, you know, one of the main challenges we have and one of the major causes of road crashes is actually attributed to human fault. Some drivers are unable to read the road signs or appreciate the value of the road signs. Some obtain the licenses without duly going through the testing processes. Some acquire the licenses without even knowing whether their eyes are good enough for driving or not. And remember, most of these crashes are actually due to reckless overtaking on our roads.
I tell you what, sometimes those who even know the right thing, once they see other persons doing the wrong thing and they are having, you know, like a free flow, they want to just follow up.
Well, yes and no. You see, when you have such extreme congestion on our roads, it creates very impatient drivers. So I think one of the major things we can do, and I think we're all having a very interesting discussion this morning, is to encourage an expansion of our road network. Secondly, the Honourable Minister of Transport has actually just obtained approval from Parliament to acquire 290 new buses. What we intend to do is to augment the current fleet of the Metro Mass Transit Company Limited. Remember that as I speak to you now, Metro Mass Transit Company actually travels to every corner of this country. They have probably one of the widest coverages of any public transportation company you can think of. I believe that even though their services, I've heard these complaints, are slightly slower, but first and foremost, they are actually cheaper because they are offering a subsidized service. Remember, it's the same company that is actually implementing government's aged policy, and recently the Minister for Gender announced that they have developed a new ID card so that persons above 65
would pay half the price,
50% for travel.
But when I heard that, I was thinking, why not zero?
Well, initially it used to be zero, and I think even still we're working. There's a committee has been put in place to review it. It used to be free, but we realized that persons were not taking advantage of it as we expected them to.
Perhaps they didn't know about it.
Well, they knew about it, but I think it was a system of identifying. And I think that was a problem for most of the bus drivers. Now that we have introduced this e-ban card, I think it gives you better access. It gives you a card that identifies you as being within that age bracket. And of course, I think that
when is the card available?
Help. Well, I think that as soon as by January it should be available.
Okay.
I think the pilot is in process.
So what's the plan? If you're 60 and above, you get a card from where?
Get a card from the Gender Ministry. I'm sure they would indicate which areas are probably going to be issuing them, because I'm sure they would have to do it in collaboration with some other agencies such as the local government ministry, I'm sure, because they have a decentralized system. So maybe you can acquire this card through the district assembly within your own catchment area or your locality.
But
so
this is restricted to
well, for
public transport for government.
Absolutely. Okay. because that we can control. And since they are actually running, for most of the companies actually receive the buses at a sort of a subsidized payment from government. So we are trying to introduce this. Remember that the children who are of school-going age are actually being taken or carried on these buses too, also for free. So yes, we want to work to augment the fleet of the public transport companies. We are also looking at the introduction of the bus rapid transit system. It's been in the offing for quite some time now, but there's a pilot going on from Kaswa to Accra and from Amasaman to Accra. These are wider bodied carriers that will be able to carry even more persons. They are very neat. We're going to ensure that the tickets are even done online so that you don't have to wait needlessly to queue. I read an interesting story yesterday about how our bus stops have actually become very uncomfortable because they've become lorry stations.
Yeah.
So instead of individuals waiting at the bus stop, you find that vehicles stop at will, they stop at, you know, all these bus stops are really completely a confusing thing. I visited the Achimota lorry station just behind the Achimota school.
The new one.
An amazing facility.
Yeah.
But I would tell you that people will still stand outside of the station and pick up passengers.
Yeah, because that will be faster, right?
Exactly.
They're already on the road.
Good.
Yeah.
But you see, it is part, we have to learn a certain culture as well. We have to be disciplined as well. And this is something that we can only do through advocacy. And I think that if we learn to do these things, I mean, in several other jurisdictions, you don't just stand anywhere and pick up passengers. You will be fined immediately. So I think it's an interesting development that we are actually introducing CCTV surveillance systems on some of our major roads. The pilot project is also in
Would it work?
whatever. So that
I mean, I heard about this sometime back. That was a long while ago.
Yes.
And then we're talking about it again.
Yes.
But let's get back to the issue of the fact that you're acquiring more buses. I think is a good thing. But is that enough? How about the old ones that we have and maintaining them?
Well, we are working very hard at maintaining them. I think that Metro Mass in particular has done very well in that regard. They've had probably an aged fleet for quite some time now. So hopefully when these new buses come, they would come to augment the existing fleet and would at least go a long way to ameliorate the challenges that our traveling public actually experiences, especially in times of huge numbers moving from one place to the other.
Okay.
I think there's an interesting thing I noticed from your documentary as well. Intercity in particular has an amazing parcel service.
Intercity STC.
STC, yes. We've come to a stage where parcels and luggage are actually delivered door to door. Once you have a good location address, you can carry your parcels from any part of Ghana to another. I heard one of the complaints being that when they travel, the buses don't have enough compartments to carry their luggage. I think we should learn to sort of do things differently. You can have a situation where you track your luggage from one place to the other. So let's say, for example, you're going to Kumasi and the vehicle on which you're traveling is unable to carry all the items that you want to carry. Why don't you just take them and use one of these parcel services? By the time you get there, the luggage is there, you are able to clear it. And remember, one of the main causes of accidents also is that these buses have too much weight on them. We are trying very hard now to implement an axle load, but we are concentrating more on truck loads.
Okay,
We're not
but
looking
are the parcels not on the same buses?
That's what I'm saying. But we can have a situation where if more people utilize the service, then you have a whole carrier just carrying cargo to Kumasi or Tamale and whatever you, without necessarily carrying passengers. The reason why they must always carry the component of passengers is mostly because how many people are using the service? And most often than not, people even use it for just little items. But
you know, the other question is, would the bus services, if it's intercity, for instance, would it be responsible for the content of the luggage? So should it be misplaced?
Well, if more people use it, I'm sure insurance would kick in. Then the company undertaking that responsibility will be forced to buy adequate insurance cover so that in the event of loss or in fact take care of the risk associated with sending the parcel. Remember that even passengers must have travel insurance, and the travel insurance will not only cover your life, it will cover your items as well.
We know for international travels.
Absolutely.
But
in most
but we don't use it for, you know, traveling around.
In most jurisdictions is the same. When you buy a train, rail card or whatever, most often than not, you read the clauses, there is always a passenger liability clause, there's a risk clause, and what have you.
But if you're traveling to Tamale,
yes,
on any of the buses,
you should buy all.
There wouldn't be insurance cover.
The bus actually has insurance cover. It has to the tune of the number of people it is carrying. So remember, when there's a loss of life, there's an injury occurring as a result of an accident, you do have a claim against the commercial vehicle. But if we have
personal insurance,
even better. Some people do. Some people have personal insurance for everything that covers their lives. Others don't. But as I said earlier, insurance is available for any category of individual in this country. Our insurance industry is probably one of the most robust this side of West Africa.
Oh, really?
So it is for you to be conscious
this side of
the availability, absolutely, and then take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But the question is that even when we go, all we want is third party. And third party insurance has its own limitations.
That's cheaper.
Exactly.
Especially, and yesterday I talked about this with a friend, the fact that now is a one-time premium. So if you're paying comprehensive, that would be very expensive.
Exactly.
If you're paying like $1,500 and above
at
a go.
Yeah. So that is one of the things. And of course, when you go for a number of years without claiming anything, it is also to your benefit, because you can use it to actually underwrite your future insurance cover. But as I said, advocacy and education is important, because most of these facilities are available, but people do not even know about them. And if you don't know something exists, why would you even access it?
But wouldn't it also be very easy, particularly around this time, that if you're going to Tamale, if you're going to Takoradi, for instance, that you just jump on a train and then it will connect you, you'll be there in maybe 15, 20 minutes. That will be so comfortable.
Well, certainly. And I think our railway sector in particular, which is one of the sectors that the Ministry of Transport has oversight responsibility for, has actually been in decline for quite some time. His Excellency the President has actually made it one of his main ambitions to see to the revamping of that sector. And I think the Honourable Minister herself has on many occasions called on private people to come and invest in the redevelopment of the railway sector. We all will agree day in, day out, the efficiencies in rail travel, the time involved, the cost involved. But remember also that in most jurisdictions, the railway is usually a subvented service. But when you have so many competing interests for the very small, monies available to government in developing countries, it becomes an even bigger challenge. But presently, we're working very hard on the Sekondi Takoradi one, and I think work is ongoing. It's actually at a very progressive stage in its development. We are working on a new negotiation between the government of Ghana and the Brazilian government, and I think recently the Honourable Minister was in Parliament to seek approval for that, so that we can fund the redevelopment of the Western Railway line. It was going to cost about 1.2 billion United States dollars. So yes, that is also in the pipeline. Remember that the Nsawam, Asapochona, and Accra Rail line is actually one of the most active we have. It is still working. But you see...
and recently, some colleagues of mine, my Joe Online, took photographs. And this will be Mr. David Andrew, I've got to give it to you, man. Took pictures, and I'm sure you've seen it on myjoeonline.com.
Yes.
It's very vibrant. That's all I can say.
Exactly. In its own way. It actually provides a certain service. But you see, one morning, even I saw the train in just around Achimota, and they had all these people hanging on left, right, center, all over it. And I was asking myself, how many workers will want to go on a train that has all these people hanging around? Sure. The worst part is when it stops at some points and even they start to trade and what have you. This is what is actually, one of the big disincentives to people using the railway.
But you see, having talked to, I think, politicians for the whole year 2014, it would be appropriate to borrow something that they've been saying. Why reinvent the wheel when really you can just copycat, just copy and paste? Just go to South Africa, for instance, and just copy and paste.
Well, I think that's exactly what we've been doing all through the years.
Yeah, but you have a lot of things in the pipeline, and we don't know if we're waiting for the pipe to, blow out before we see.
In fact, the water is even running already.
Before we see the fruits of that.
Revamping the railway sector is heavily cash intensive. What we are actually intending to do now is to go the private public partnership
way. And we already have PPP.
And we already have PPP. So yes, presently we have a transaction advisor who is working on getting us a strategic investor for the Kumasi line, specifically Buankra, to Tema. We are also looking at connecting the port of Tema to Takoradi by rail. So it was actually very inspiring when we saw what happened at Aflao, between Togo and Aflao, to carry the clinker for cement. And we hope that eventually we would have private investors trying to invest in this all-important sector. And the Western region actually is home to most of our natural and mineral resources. So we're hoping that as we start to pump oil, that would work very quickly. And of course, I think it's also an incentive for persons who are willing to invest, that they'll be able to recover their money in a much shorter period of time than earlier indicated. So we're looking forward
my fear when we're relying on private persons is they would also want to do things in their own personal interests. You know, like this connection between, as a Nigeria and Ghana, for instance, that is to aid some private person's own private business. So if we had government being at the center of this whole real situation, then we can do things to rather benefit the citizens.
For Ghana in particular, government is actually actively involved. The only thing government lacks is the funding to cover fully. The Sekondi Takoradi line in particular is being funded fully by the government of Ghana. The existing one, which you've actually said all these very unflattering things about, is actually being fully funded by the government of Ghana as well.
So that is the problem, because when we are funding, then we don't have enough cash to finish the project.
Not even to finish the project, but to actually raise it to a certain standard. Because, for example, the Accra and Sawam Masapuchena one is finished. They have beautiful terminals, they have beautiful stations and what have you. The line actually is in good working condition. But we need to work on getting probably better, you know, real.
So why don't we start this way? The train that goes from the Accra Central to Nsawam, why can't we get a lot more?
Yes.
You know, so instead of maybe, I don't know how many lines we have.
Well, for now, we just have that one, actually.
See? So if we have, like, say, 3.
But if we have, then, like, say, 3, which we are working on, and we are actually hoping to get more locomotives as well. And if we have more, then it means that we can have better ones that will handle specifically just passengers. And they don't necessarily have to travel with the farming public and the marketing public and what have you. In fact, I remember when the rail was opened initially, when it was commissioned in 2009, colleagues of mine used to come to the office on it, and by 6 a.m. they'll be at work. So we need to actually encourage usage of the railway, but of course we need to do something.
So you do the improvements, and then we would see if we'll pack and just join.
I'm looking forward to you and I having a discussion when the President and the Honourable Minister eventually commission the work on the Western Railway.
See, that's my problem.
And I'm sure this will be done in our lifetime.
I want the after, not the before.
Oh, don't worry. The before will be just as good as the after, because of course everything that has an inception must likewise have an ending. And I'm sure this ending will be a good one. I mean, the Western region was built around the railway. So we are looking forward to that industry coming back. Look at the job creation. Look at the opportunities for investment and what have you. So yes, I think in that regard, we have been lacking behind. But I'm hoping that very soon government will actually pick up. Yes.
Okay. So we decided to really prepare for your coming this morning. Another colleague of mine, Latif, because people are still doing a lot of traveling, stepped out today. But we'll box up with the traffic situation in Accra as we found it this morning.
So I'm here at the VIP terminal here at Circle, and as you can see, it is hustle and bustle here as people are traveling from Accra and to Accra for the Xmas season. Now we'll get to speak to some of the passengers and drivers here who are traveling outside Accra and to Accra. How has business been like? You know, I can see lots and lots of buses leaving the station. And how would you describe the situation here?
Well, I should say it's a seasonal thing, and it's good and also very healthy and encouraging. But on behalf of the mates and the drivers, it's very stressful. For myself, experience-wise, I left home from Thursday until now I've not gone home.
Okay.
I went to Kumasi yesterday afternoon and I came this morning.
Oh.
I've not catch a sleep. And for the loyal customers, we are also trying to ascertain them, to give them maximum comfort and give them best of services.
Okay.
That's what we are here to do.
Now, can you give me the number of buses that have left this terminal today?
Honestly, it will be very difficult because it's plenty. It's plenty. At least I could tell you, say, number counting from 60 upwards.
Wow. And each bus takes maximum
31.
31. So you can imagine the number of people who have left the station here. Now, on the average, what would you say are the number of buses that leave the terminal on Xmas season, the eve of Xmas?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can't really say, you can't really give a figure, because it's something that it sometimes goes up and comes downwards. But during this Christmas season, a lot of buses. As I can tell, as I could speak now, you can't say per se, simply because they go and they come back. A bus will leave this morning, you say in the evening the bus is here. So you can't actually give a figure, but you can say bus counting from 100 a day can go to Kumasi to and fro.
Wow. All right, so we are still at the Obra Sports VIP stand here, and we're still trying to get the views of people who have been in the queue for so long a time, hoping to get their turn into the bus to travel to wherever they are going. My name is Latif. You're welcome to Joy News.
Thank you.
Please, where are you going specifically?
Kumasi.
Kumasi. For?
Oh, just for the Christmas.
For the Christmas.
Yeah.
So traveling to Kumasi, what are your expectations?
Oh, as usual, it's an occasion. We go back home and then interact with our relatives, and then come back, and then we'll continue with our work.
Wow. So how long have you been in the queue? I mean, what time did you get to the VIP station?
20 minutes ago.
20 minutes. Then yours has been quick.
Yeah.
Because we have people who have waited here since 3 a.m.
So, unfortunate then.
Okay. Now, do you have any fears on the road? Because people are complaining about the nature of the road leading to Kumasi.
Oh, yes. Because now the robbery incident is high. So, one must fear when you are traveling that way. Okay.
But you are hopeful that you have a safe
Definitely.
and sound
I understand the police patrols too is doing well of late.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get some kids talking here at the bus terminal. What's your name, sweetie?
Tracy.
Your name?
Tracy.
Tracy, where are you going?
I'm going to Kumasi.
To Kumasi with your mama? What are you going to do in Kumasi?
I'm going to meet my auntie.
Your auntie? For Christmas? Okay. What time did you get here? What time did you get here? All right, so you have Tracy there. She's going to Kumasi to celebrate the Xmas. Your name?
My name is Abdul Baki.
Abdul Baki.
Yeah.
I'm Abdul Latif. Now, where are you going?
I'm going to Kumasi.
To Kumasi for what? I don't think you are going there for Xmas.
Yeah, actually, I'm a student here.
Okay.
And I'm on vacation, so I need to go to Kumasi and spend my vacation over there.
Okay. Now, what are your expectations going to Kumasi?
Yeah, my expectation is to go and then chill with my friends.
Right.
I'm a student, so I definitely have a friends over there.
You still want to get some, parts of the Xmas season?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Because I have Christian friends, a lot of them.
Okay. Now, do you have any fears traveling on the road leading to Kumasi? Because people have complained about the nature of the road.
Yeah, actually, but we give everything in God's hand. We know God can do more than we're thinking.
Okay.
So we are looking up to God.
All right. So that's Abdul there, who is also traveling to Kumasi. Now, it's been brisk business here. People have taken advantage of the situation and are doing brisk business at the bus terminal. And as you can see, we have lots and lots of stands here. Ranging from toiletries to, all manner of things that you can think of. People are taking advantage of the hustle and bustle of the situation and are doing brisk business. So from the VIP stand here, this has been Latif Idris reporting for Joy News.
Morning with another colleague of ours, Daniel van der Poy, with the camera works right there. But what are the other options if you don't want to travel by road? I mean,
I was actually thinking through the same thing, that there are several other options. We have a very robust domestic airline business in this country.
Which some people will find expensive?
Well, to be honest with you, a one-way ticket to Kumasi is actually about 150 Ghana cedis on the average. If you do the return, you can get it for about 300 Ghana cedis. Most of these other alternatives, which are probably to go by trotro, by public transportation and what have you, are relatively cheaper, but look at the time involved. And I'm sure there are all sorts of options available at this time in Christmas, because people know that several other people would be traveling. Chances are the number of airlines in a day might have increased from 2 to about 3 averagely, and I know most of them do 3 flights a day to Tamale, to Kumasi, and of course to Takrady. So we do have several other options. But you see, sometimes too, I think it is actually the mindset. There are some individuals, mind you, who would never want to travel to Kumasi by air. One is too short. You miss out on seeing all the tourist attractions and purchasing all the things along the way.
I guess it would be for fear of traveling by air.
I have colleagues of mine who would rather go by road because they can buy foodstuff, they can stop every now and then, have a chat with someone, and then carry on.
If I'm going by road in the cruiser, then fine.
Well, even in any other vehicle, how many hours does it take from Accra to Kumasi in particular, or from Accra to Takrady? If you're looking at the long haul, traveling from Accra maybe to Bolgatanga, to Tamale, yes, those are much, much longer journeys. But these days, even most of these buses are very comfortable. They are fitted with restrooms, they have videos on the buses, they are fitted with air conditions that work. And of course, we have security all along the routes lately.
Do we? Because it's been one of the biggest issues.
It has always been a challenge. Look, I would want to commend the Ghana Police Service for doing a very, very good job. It is not easy to man all these routes that we have, especially for persons traveling by road. You know, for some time now, we actually had all these issues with armed robbers and things like that.
There was one big one
hijacking
on the road to Kumasi.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, to be able to stem that particular canker, it requires a certain ingenuity on the part of the police service. And I think reports reaching us indicate that as much as possible, into whatever the reasonable, whatever can be, that a lot is being done to avert situations such as these. In fact, sometimes even at a certain point in time, they provide you with a police escort to take you to the next place because they know the trouble zones. Some zones are known because maybe there's a very long and uninhabited passage area where you know.
But is that helpful when there's a policeman on board?
Oh, of course it is helpful. But you know, crime is an interesting thing. Sometimes even the notion that there's a policeman on board is actually enough to sort of deter all these other people who are willing to do all these things. Remember that people even knowing that the next point might probably have a checkpoint is enough to stop them from attacking the vehicles. Because you also know that when the police are well equipped, they have the requisite vehicles, they have ammunitions, they have what have you, it is very difficult for you to overpower them. And you know, most often than not, all these criminals, no matter what we think of them, don't want to lose their lives in the process. So they actually also err on the side of caution. So it is actually very important that at this time we actually give credit to the Ghana Police Service. The National Road Safety Commission on its part has actually also put in place a certain service where they are able to remove vehicles that break down along the way. You know, this is actually one of the other causes of accidents, even in the cities, such as the capital cities of Accra, Kumasi, and what have you. Vehicles, go out of service. They stay on the roads for longer than necessary. They cause unnecessary traffic. People drive at night, and of course, because of lack of visibility or poor visibility, they run into these stationary trucks and vehicles. So this is another area that we're trying very hard to ensure that these removal trucks are on call 24/7, especially at a time of extreme congestion on our routes. But yes, I believe that much as we want to travel by road, we also have options to travel by air. And it's quicker, it's more efficient, and yes, it might be slightly more expensive because it gets you there much quicker. But of course, we also want to work hard to make even more available additional buses to ensure that as much as possible we reduce congestion and avoid situations where bus drivers are sleepy and yet have to undertake journeys because they need to carry people from one place to the other.
Somebody confessing right there.
Absolutely.
That he hasn't slept like in 3 days.
And that is indeed a challenge, because how do you test that an individual behind the steering wheel has had very little sleep or is tired? So we are calling on all passengers, and I agree with the National Road Safety for their campaign message this year, that we should be our own bosses, speak up, and help us all reduce road crashes.
Sometimes when you speak up, they will just stop the car and say that, listen, if you're not comfortable with me driving, you can get out.
I know, but you see, majority still carries the vote. If you have 5 to 10 passengers complain, I have come across persons who have done this and it has worked. It has averted huge catastrophes, it has saved lives, and of course avoided needless losses and injuries, because passengers have spoken out against bad driving. And I always say, now that we have all these security in place, and of course the police have put out some numbers that you can even call, so you can sit quietly in your seat, send a text message or what have you with the car number, etc. Look, it's amazing. Somebody wanted to identify a vehicle, and the minute I sent the text to the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, I got a reply back. The person's name, address, telephone number, and whatever.
Was it not because of who you are?
No, I didn't even tell them who I was. So it does work. We just have to know that these things exist and use them to protect and prevent needless loss of lives and accidents. And yes, in terms of options, we might not have as many because, of course, we don't have the commensurate railway to support or augment the services of the aviation and the transport sector. But I'm sure that there are several options still available if we want to travel. What is important is that we must ensure that we travel on safe vehicles, vehicles that are in good condition, drivers who look responsible, appear responsible, or drive responsibly. If you sit in a vehicle and you find the driver driving recklessly, I think it is your responsibility and you owe it to other passengers and road users to stop and speak up.
Okay.
Very, very important.
Finally, I just wanted us to touch on the DVLA. I think we've spoken a lot about them, but the fact that they're not issuing licensing any longer, has it come to your attention, and what's the plan?
Oh, they are. They had,
because, you know, we had there were issues,
yes,
and so
they had some challenges with the equipment, the software, but they are issuing licenses. In fact, I personally made some checks and I found out that there are several licenses waiting to be picked up at the DVLA offices.
I tell you what they used to do before. They would send you, I think they would call you, because I got a call and they gave me the options. Do you want to pick it up, or you want us to send it to you? It will come at a fee. And I opted for you bring it to me, but that service is no longer there.
Well, the service is there, and in fact, in recent times, because of the backlog and the complaints that were coming from the general public, what they actually did was to call all the numbers that were given when the persons actually applied for the licenses. But interestingly, some Ghanaians have about 3-4 different numbers. And sometimes at the time of actually applying for this license, they might have used a specific number. But you try several times and you might not get through. Sometimes due to network challenges, sometimes because the person is out of the jurisdiction. Several reasons for which you can't reach them.
But I've got a fear here. If we have so many licenses waiting for the owners to pick up,
what are they doing? Are
these people not driving already?
Absolutely, that is it. But remember that when you go to apply for this license, even before the formal card is actually ready for pickup, they issue you with a temporary one. It's a little paper which actually has all your details on it, and it allows you to use it until you get an actual license or formal license being issued. I myself am still using one of the temporary ones that was issued. So when my license is ready, I then return the temporary one and I pick up the official license. So they've actually put in place very good measures to sort of help as much as possible to reduce this burden. But as I said, it is actually still the individual's responsibility first and foremost. The law is that you must have the requisite driving license. So you must ensure that when your driver's license expires, when it's due for expiration, you should avail yourself of the services being offered by the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority to have a renewal, a retesting, or whatever the case may be. But first and foremost, it is our responsibility as citizens to ensure that you drive with the requisite license and that your vehicle is in good, usable shape, and that you are able to carry people from one place to the other.
All right. I tell you what, Madam Joyce Bar Mukhtari, today's 23rd, and I've loved my 23rd morning because I spent a bit of it with you. I've loved you all through. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me. An absolute pleasure, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas and, of course, a prosperous New Year in advance. But please speak out and be your own boss.
Okay.
Sure.
The very last thing, there's a lot of indiscipline this morning. So we hope that, I don't know, there will be some collaboration between the Transport Ministry, the police, and to fix it.
As always, it is actually at the heart of the Ministry of Transport to do just that.
Okay.
And His Excellency, the President himself, is actually committed to us reducing as much as possible needless loss of lives. What is worse than getting injured over Christmas? Your whole Christmas is spoiled and there's nothing really to enjoy. So let's pray and hope that this year we would all be a little bit more responsible and avoid needless crashes.
All right.
And what have you.
We wish you the very best. Thank you very much. And